All right, welcome back, Inebri-art. We're just recording this quick bumper. It's not really an issue, but our SuperMegaFest episode ran so long we were making it into 2 episodes. So here's the second half of the SuperMegaFest interviews that we recorded a few weekends ago back up in Marlborough, Mass. And so we hope you liked the first episode, and this one should be just as good. Thanks for listening.
We're recording.
Oh, we're recording.
So we're just going to record me and you talking.
Okay.
All right.
This is me and you talking.
Me and you talking.
On something. On
Now you need to be quiet.
Yeah. Keep it down.
Can you be quiet?
Keep it down.
All right. Sweet. Okay.
What are we talking about?
Are you going to go first or should I go first?
You go first.
I go first?
Okay.
How does my podcast?
Oh, it's your podcast. Okay.
All right. So we're here with, what's your name again?
If you don't know my name after all these years.
So we're here again with friend of the podcast, Brian Hall.
I've known Andy way too long.
Who we've been set up next to all weekend and have managed not to taunt each other too much.
Yeah, we're still friends at the end of It's pretty kind of amazing, isn't it?
So how was the weekend for you?
Really good. I sold a lot of books. We had our new book out, Mountain Night Owl Tales.
It was Mountain Night Owl.
I said that so fast.
Mountain Night Owl Tales.
Owl as the bird that flies around. Yeah. I'm illiterate in 4 languages. That's my Southern Kentuckian. It's been a fun con. And,
you've been getting good feedback on that book?
Well, lots of good feedback. Actually, Jerome Blake, who played in the Star Wars movies and The Fifth Element, read it overnight.
Yep.
And he was like, this is amazing. He loves it. So, we're planning to film 2 pilot episodes in the spring down in Kentucky, and he's wanting to get involved in our filming in Kentucky because he's already planning, I think, someone's asking him to play a person from Virginia. So we had to, it's a British actor, so he's got to learn the accent. So I gave him a movie to do, but he read the book and he really liked it. So, he's done Shakespearean theater, stuff like that. So, in his words, he said, I'm not blowing smoke at you, but it's a really, really, I loved your book. And that's my best British Jerome Blake accent.
That was a terrible accent.
I hope he doesn't listen to this because he'll probably beat me the next time he sees me.
Sweet. And so what was the high points of Super Mega Fest for you this year?
The high points, I always, always meet cool celebrities.
Other than sitting next to me all week.
Other than sitting next to Andy and cool celebrities, Andy's a cool celebrity. To me, what I like is meeting, the consumers that come in. I mean, the people that are just the what I am, the geeks, the nerds, and getting to talk to people, about my books, and getting to talk to people and sharing the worlds that I've created in these books. It's just a lot of fun, and then I get feedback from fans that have been reading my books, and I get a new book out.
Yep.
And it's really cool that they've liked the other books so much. I've had people drive across the state to just come like, hey, I want your next book and stuff, and and now they're wanting the next book. So I love just interacting with people because I get feedback about the books, and to me, if anybody that's a writer, and you don't even have to be a writer to imagine or understand this, that, you put your heart into your life, into your writing.
Pretty much anything creative.
Yeah, artists all understand that. And then to share that with people, to me, is just so special. It's just like, I love talking to people, and, to
you
me,
love
that's
talking? Are you sure?
Yes, that. Yeah, and it's cool, and and of course I get to meet a lot of different amazing artists and authors here, and meet celebrities and stuff. Some celebrities I've known from a little ways and get to talk to them again, what they're doing in their careers and stuff. And I love conventions for that. It's all about just.
It's always you get to meet up with people you haven't seen in a while and meet new people.
Yeah, most of the time we see each other at conventions, right?
Yeah, or something.
Because you don't have your store anymore. I don't have a place to go hang out and harass you.
No.
But
it's because you used to keep sneaking off the jetpack.
Yeah. So, absolutely. But yeah, it's good to catch up with like-minded people that love art, books, culture, pop culture, movies. I mean, it's like we work, to pay for our lives, but that's not what we're living for.
Right.
I mean, people, it's like what we live for is the arts.
Yeah.
That's what makes life on this planet very, very, very bearable.
Yeah.
And enjoyable and magical. And then, it's, and to be going to conventions, it's all that. You get to see how the world should be.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. It's just like, this is how we want everything. And, you get to kind of have those bubble moments.
Yeah,
here.
and it's
we're protected
like,
from what the craziness outside.
Generally, people are happy to be here and having fun, and it's generally speaking a very non-judgmental,
Absolutely.
place to be.
And that's what I like. You leave the politics out of the door. You leave. Everybody comes together as a human, part of the human race, and we get to share who we are. Yeah. Literally,
we find common ground.
Absolutely. And that's what I hope the rest of the world does.
3 pens? I mean, so it's a great place for like-minded people to get together, in which it makes me happy to see that they've been growing in popularity and more people are joining the community.
Yeah,
so it's always a good thing.
Yeah, and and it's really funny. I mean, people might hate the show, but like The Big Bang Theory. When we were in high school, you hate the show?
No, he does. He does shades it.
A lot of people hate it and stuff, but one good thing it did do, even the negative stuff it brought out about geekdom, it made people start realizing that, it's like the people that you thought were nerds and geeks in high school and all this stuff were the ones that are producing all the good entertainment and movies you're watching. And, like, this kind of happened to me. In high school, I was a captain of the basketball team, and I played soccer in college. I coached a judo team, so I was very athletic.
Yeah.
But I was so much more in love with my art friends and my art side. We role played. We the 3 o'clock in the morning playing Dwarves and Dragons and all that stuff. And I looked forward to that more than I did playing sports. But the thing is, it wasn't cool back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
It was like stigmatized to be into art and comics and all this stuff. But now, it's, we're having some entertainment here. But anyways, now everybody that would have thought, the Flash Thompsons of the world that were trying to beat up all the Peter Parkers are now realizing that Peter Parker is cool.
Right.
We're the Peter Parkers, right?
If I tell you that, then you're going to know I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can't tell you
but
that.
you understand the metaphor
I'm
using there. That now, and that actually happened to me. A real close friend of mine, I didn't say his name because he don't care. Robert Jervis, I knew since grade school and high school. I've done one of my first book signings in Kentucky ever. Yeah. Had a lot of old high school friends come out. So happy to see him.
That's cool.
And Robert come out. We were really close in grade school, and he's like, we were all really geeks, and no one knew it.
Yeah.
Like everybody was. Everybody liked Star Wars. Everybody liked this, and now we know what it is.
Yeah.
And then for him to say that, it was like, oh, that's actually, pretty cool. And then, it's kind of funny now, all the out-of-closet geeks. Yeah. Everybody's like, I was afraid to tell people I read comics in high school. But now they're, like, proud of it. Like, hey, I do that because, look, who doesn't like the superhero movies?
Right.
And honestly, the best movies, the best entertainment that's in pop culture started from the pen and ink of authors or comics.
Well, and this is the thing, is you should feel comfortable liking whatever it is you like.
Yep.
And if someone else likes something different, that's okay. Let them.
And I think that's one of the great messages at Comic-Cons. Like you have such a large variety of people. Some people like comics, some people like movies, some people like making crafts.
Yeah.
You have like a lot of people building stuff. You have different artists, and you just get to see such a variety. And I'll be really funny and be esoteric and quote the Dalai Lama from Tibet. How's that? Can I throw that out there?
The Dalai Lama?
Is that what they call him?
The Dalai Lama?
I call him the Dalai Lama because
The Dalai Lama just makes me think of like some sort of Buddhist newspaper.
You missed my joke because daily he rides his llama around and gives you messages.
All right.
You stored my joke.
I'm sorry.
But anyways, he said this one time. And I don't follow Tibetan Buddhism anyways, but and if you do, whatever. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that he said, if you go to a flower garden, what makes a flower garden so beautiful is that it's not just one flower.
Yeah.
There are many colors of flowers and variations, and that's what makes a garden so rich and unique. And to me, that's a perfect metaphor for a convention. You come here, and it's just like you see so much different variety of things. It's just really, it's almost like stepping into another world when you come to these conventions.
Yeah.
And actually, one of my martial arts students actually just walked over by us this was their first convention.
Oh, no kidding.
And
It's always great when people come to their first convention.
and they have just been glowing. They
Yeah.
got to meet some actors. They they met Lee Majors, who was here, and Lindsay Wagner, and they were just like, they've never been to this, and they were like cloud nine. To me, I almost get that, enjoy that newness again. I'm like,
yeah.
You know, it's like awesome.
Cool. All right, well, I won't keep you. Jonah, thank you for being on the podcast. For our listeners who didn't know what that nose.
Jonah got swallowed by a whale. This is Judah.
Judah, I'm sorry.
See, and he didn't have a jug behind.
I didn't.
He missed it. I had a daily lawnmower. I had the daily lawnmower, riding his lawnmower around to bed.
See, I just am terrible with names. So, Judah, thank you, because Judah was on the podcast last time, too.
Yeah.
He was making noise in the background. Yeah, so, but Brian, thanks again.
Thanks.
And anytime you're welcome, we'll get you on the podcast to talk about your new book.
We'll maybe grab Bill on it and have him talk about, because we're planning on doing some series together.
Sweet, yeah.
Maybe talk about some Netflix.
Sounds good. Awesome, man.
Awesome.
Thanks. All right, so Rich, friend of the podcast, you've just finished your first comic convention. What were your thoughts on that?
I have to say, I feel really fortunate to be a part of this experience. I've been meeting a lot of nice people when I attended last time, and you get to meet so many more of them when you actually come as an exhibitor. And there aren't, as a writer, people say, oh, are you ever at a loss for words? This is one of those situations. Yeah, I'd say I'm at a pretty good loss for words, because the amount of goodwill people have towards each other here is so astounding. And it really makes you feel like you're a part of the community, even when this is just your first time coming. And I would absolutely do it again, and I'm looking forward to doing more in the future.
Nice, nice. And so, last time we talked, Huntress of the Sky wasn't out yet.
Yep.
It is officially out. So people can check it out where?
They can check it out on Amazon. They can search either R.F. Keenan or Huntress of the Sky. Should be right at the top on either one of those.
Nice.
They can also find it on the Facebook page, rfkeenan.com for my personal author page, or the Chronicles of Danan, which is the name of the trilogy, and that's its own group page.
And so how has people's response been towards the book? Have you been getting a lot of interest in it? I've seen you take a lot of pictures with, people in costume holding your book and whatnot.
Yep. Oh, and before I forget, I just got my own website up too, rfkeenan.com.
Oh, sweet.
For the reception of the book, everybody really loves the cover. So a shout out to Ryan Durney for the fantastic job he
That's
did.
awesome.
He just knocked it out of the park. For the actual story itself, a lot of interest. So for my first time, I'm actually really happy with that. I've had some sales and a lot more people who have said, yeah, I'm going to go check it out. Might
And hopefully,
later.
it's one of those things where you don't get an immediate gratification because you have to sit down and read it.
Yep.
But hopefully you'll get some feedback, emails or Facebook posts. What has overall been your favorite part of the con so far?
Oh, geez, that's hard. I've really enjoyed taking pictures with a lot of the cosplayers. Awesome Darth Vader.
Yeah.
There was an awesome Spock I did.
I saw him. Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah.
Yep. I did a picture with Spock yesterday, and I was like, oh my god, Spock is holding my book. It really feels like it.
And he really committed to it because he's got like the haircut and everything.
Oh yeah, he's really committed.
Yeah.
And that was really satisfying, but there were a couple of kids who picked up my book, and knowing that they were going to enjoy reading it and it was going to encourage, because the older sister was actually starting to write short stories on her own, and this really seemed to encourage her, and that really made me feel good.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I'd
it's
say
always nice when you kind of see like that kind of spark in someone else. Yeah.
Yep.
And so hopefully the next thing that I hope for you is you get that experience in a future con where someone comes back and is like, oh, I have this book. And that is always a kind of a surreal, like weird experience, but it's always a good one.
I am waiting for that moment, and I remember listening to it in your podcast, actually, when you had someone come up and ask for photos with you, and you're like, okay, that was great. Now, who the hell was that?
Yeah. More importantly, who did they think I was? Yeah.
Yeah. That is going to be a very strange feeling for me when it happens, and I'm really going to enjoy it, I think.
Yeah, nice. So, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
And do you have a plan yet of like what convention you want to try next?
Brian had actually, that's Brian Hall for everyone listening.
Brian Hall, never heard of him.
He recommended, there's one coming up December 2nd in Cohasset. I'm waiting to find out the name of that one so that I can look at signing up.
Is that the south of Boston Comic-Con one?
No, that one's a little later. That's Southeast Boston Comic-Con, and I am looking at attending that one. That's a convention that Gary Summers...
I think that's in Hanover, I think. Or something.
Yeah, Gary Summers set that one up in Hanover, and I'm going to find out how to get there. Cool. But there should be 2 coming up in the next couple of months.
And are you going to post that information on your Facebook page?
Yep, that'll all be available on the Facebook page and on rfkeenan.com for anyone who is interested in seeing me there.
Perfect. Well, congratulations on the release of the book.
Thank you.
And when Volume 2 comes out, we'll have to get you back on the podcast.
I appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks, man. All right, so listeners, we are here with...
I'm Josh Dahl.
Josh Dahl, and you are a...
I am a comic writer and editor and also recent podcaster.
And your podcast was Better Make Comics?
BetterMakeComics.com, as in if you want to make comics, you better make comics.
Nice. And so how long have you been making comics?
A lot longer than I'd like to admit. Let's say 6 years, but really decades.
Yep. And... so do you self-publish, or have you been working on titles that people...
I self-publish.
Yeah.
I self-publish.
What's the name of the comics you're working
I do Rapid City Comics. Rapid City Below Zero is the book I'm pushing right now.
And is it superhero, horror? Like what's
it is a super villain revenge drama, as anyone who's been tabling near me...
Super villain revenge?
Super villain revenge. It's a crime story set in a super villain world where... a young supervillainess is betrayed by another supervillain. Her crew gets murdered, and then it's bad people treating each other badly.
Oh, that's interesting.
I hope so, yeah.
And so, do you do the whole thing soup to nuts, write, draw?
I pretty much open the can of soup and leave the rest.
Yeah.
I do the writing. Sean Langley does the art. Kyle Kaminsky does the lettering. Michael Faulkner colors the covers. And then I send the whole thing to the printer.
Nice. And how many issues of that is there?
We are 5 issues in.
Yeah.
Issue 6 is being drawn right now. Nice. So those 5 issues are about to come together in a trade.
Yeah. So, like, at what point in your life did you start to take an interest in comics and creating?
The first story I ever remember, like, creating was a comic.
Yeah.
It was a series of pictures. I must have overheard some older kids playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And drew like an adventure.
Yeah.
And it was a comic.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's what it's been.
And it's just kind of taken hold on you since then?
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of like, where would you like to see your comic book go? Do you want... is there like a cinematic universe that you want to build, or like are you more just kind of happy when someone picks it up and really enjoys it?
I love making comics. I love when people read my comics. I'm happy to do that this is kind of a slow event, but I still love doing events. I love meeting people, talking to people. I love that whole thing. But also, if somebody said, hey, we're going to do, a 4-season Netflix ching ching, yes sir.
Thank you.
I've already got the seasons plotted out. Like I know, it's good.
Yeah.
I can do that. That's
I feel like
awesome.
everyone does. So like, in your dream scenario, do you have an actor picked out for the main role, or like when you write, do you picture someone?
No, I picture people I know.
Yeah.
And so, little pieces
So
of this,
you
little piece
picture
of that.
people you know to write a super villain comic book?
Yes.
Okay. You might want to change your circle of friends.
It's little bits and pieces,
Yeah,
a little bit
yeah.
like vocal patterns and stuff
Right,
like that.
right.
Plus, I used to work in a jail school, so
Oh wow!
I know
You're the second comic book creator that we have had on that used to work in a jail school.
Christina Blanche.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we interviewed her at MassiveCon.
I missed her at Massive, but when
she's
she and I,
very
when we
sweet,
talked at Boston.
Yeah.
It was like jail slang. Like,
Yeah.
Like we're both like, how long you been out? You know? Yeah.
That's awesome. So, do you ever run into past, let's call them students?
Yes.
And like, have you seen positive effects that you've had on those people?
I worked with criminal teenagers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I won't get into the negative parts. So yes, I see some positive stuff. I see some positive
not everyone
stuff.
is gonna turn out okay, but
Right.
you know.
It's every once in a while I see kids like, hey, like, you know, you still doing that thing? So there are some kids make it out.
Yeah, that's good though. You know,
Yeah.
You know, if you can affect a couple people, you can't help everybody,
Right.
You know? But do you enjoy teaching and plan to do more of that? Is that what got into the podcast about making comics?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I quit my regular teaching job.
Yep.
Bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Like, I've talked to people about this before. I'm a guy who could willingly go 5 days a week into a room with 15 teenage boys who are criminals. Like, picture the best 15-year-old boys on earth and put them in a college dorm style closed setting for 60 days.
Yeah.
And imagine the nightmare that would be.
And those are the best ones.
And those are the best ones.
Yeah.
So I could do that, willingly get up every morning, go in it, and the thing that made me quit was the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It was
We had one of our early episodes. We had a couple of art. We had an art teacher on and a musician that taught math and science, just to talk about arts in school and the bureaucracy behind it, and it made me angry. I'm not gonna lie.
No, so since then, in teaching comics, I've taught a couple comics classes. I've done things at conventions. I've worked one-on-one, using those teaching skills.
Yeah.
To communicate with people who want to learn is fantastic. It's
a very different experience.
Like, I'm used to fighting for every inch of attention.
Yeah.
And then to have somebody go like, and what else?
Yeah.
Like,
tell me more. Let me ask, do we have to go now? That kind
I don't
of
have to slam my hand on the desk and say I'm done with this shit. No, I can just suggest something and you'll listen. Like, it's awesome.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. Is it just kind of like a Comic Creator 101? Is it to motivate people, or is it just kind of like, this is how I did it?
There's each episode has 2 parts.
Yeah.
I so far I've only talked to comic writers.
Okay.
I don't know how I'll transition to doing artists, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So basically, I talk to them about what they're working on, how it's working, and then we go back to what it is that gets them past the hard part.
Yep.
Right? And sort of specifically, when you first came up against that wall, when you realized, oh shit, comics are really hard.
Yeah.
And all the people you see who aren't here today didn't find a way around that wall.
Right.
So everybody, so I talk about that. And then for me, the fun part is each guest then hits me with a problem they're actually facing today. I can't figure out how to end this scene.
Yeah.
So then I'm live on air. I'm okay, let's see what we got. So you have and it's crazy fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I've had some left field stuff where by the end I'm kind of did that help?
Yeah, how was that? Yeah. But that's great. It's the reason why we started this podcast is because I really enjoy. I feel like all creative people generally kind of have the same mentality or mindset, and it's our medium that's different. And to me, it's great to talk to them, find out how they got started.
Yeah.
How they do get through those struggles, and we're always asking, what kind of advice would you give younger people starting off to kind of get through those? So, a younger person who's facing that first impasse, what would your bit of advice be for them?
Don't do it. Quit.
See, this is
Give up.
That's a third person this weekend has given that advice.
Now,
I like that advice.
Now let me give you the follow up to that advice. If you heard that advice, for a new listener, if you heard that advice and went, oh, okay, then good, fucking
right.
quit, you're done.
Yeah.
But if you heard it and went, fuck that guy,
Yeah.
then, you're good.
Then you're going to make it through, yeah.
Then, at that point, just do whatever you need to do. Do whatever feels right. Even if you get it wrong the first 10 times, just do it. If your response to me telling you to quit was, fuck that guy, you're good. Don't worry about it. Just keep on saying, fuck that guy.
So I think that has been the advice of the weekend, is quit.
Quit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ding, ding.
Yeah,
ding.
yeah.
Bomb Sally's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
So what other conventions in the area are you planning on hitting up?
Next Friday, October 27th.
Yeah.
In Everett, Mass. Where are you guys from?
Plymouth.
Okay. So in Everett, the Bone Up Brewery is having Arch Enemy's Halloween event.
Oh, that's
and they're
cool.
releasing a pair of Arch Enemy beers to coincide with my comic all about Arch Enemies. So it's sort of they read my comics.
I think we found a kindred spirit.
If you guys can make it out, it's going to be an awesome event.
We might not be able to because next weekend we're having an art show at a distillery in Plymouth.
All right.
So, like-minded, art and booze, and yeah.
Okay,
So,
oh my god, I'm going to geek out a tiny bit.
Hold on, we're doing a podcast.
say hello.
Hello. It's podcast worthy. So
Yes.
I went up to Lindsay Wagner and I said I really want to meet you just because on Tuesday I'm actually going to become bionic and getting a hearing aid. And
Oh, a cochlear implant.
it's similar.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
So I showed her the post of the implant. So I'm like talking to bionic woman, telling her I'm going to become bionic on Tuesday. And she came out from behind the table and said, "May I take a picture with you?"
Oh, that's so cool.
The bionic woman asked me for a picture.
That's cool. That's
Kind
awesome.
of awesome. So I'm geeking out.
And,
So there you go.
Fucking awesome. Congratulations.
Podcast-worthy story.
and you know, that is, and we were just talking with another creator about how the Comic-Con world, like once you come through the door, is so open to everybody. And
No, like
so-
a lot of times when I'm talking to people, give them my rap at the table.
Yeah.
Like somebody will say something like, I always ask like, "Who's your favorite supervillain?" And someone will say Captain Hook, and I'll go, "That's weird."
Yeah.
And they kind of like they get like a little offended at first, and I'm like, weird is not a negative in this.
No,
building.
no, absolutely.
There's nothing weird here.
Yeah.
Like this is not. None of this is weird.
I used to own a comic book shop, and so in the windows I was using some decal letters, and I had leftovers. And there was one window that didn't face the street; it faced kind of as you walked up to the building. So on the top of the window, I wrote, "Nerd is not a four-letter word." And it was great because a lot of people either walked in and were like, "That's awesome," or they're like, "I don't get it. There's 4 letters in it." And
Well, you're dumb, man.
yeah, it's like whatever, you can go. But it's such an accepting community, and I feel like everyone's welcome. And so thanks for taking a couple minutes to talk to us.
Thanks a lot,
So they
Andy.
got your podcast
At
website.
bettermakecomics.com.
And is there a website for your comic itself?
BelowZeroComic.com.
BelowZero.com? And thanks for talking-
BelowZeroComic.com.
Oh, sorry, BelowZeroComic.com.
And then at Rapid City Comic on everything else.
Excellent. And if anyone is, actually, this probably won't get up before your
Whatever.
brewery
Cool.
event. But so thank you again for talking to us.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Good to meet you.
All right, so listeners, when I started this podcast a year and a half ago-ish, I made up a list of people that I wanted to have on my podcast. And one of the names that was on that was someone who I'd known for quite a few years and knew would be good radio. And Zeke, welcome to the podcast.
I was going to sit there and say, like, I'm on a list. I'm like,
Oh, you're on a
I
list.
have no idea why.
Not like a watch list, just
Well,
like a...
I am black and I live in Brockton, so that's definitely something that I'm like, I'm on a list.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So Zeke is a artist and comic creator,
I try.
and you've been doing cons for...
Wow, I'm starting to work
Like-
on almost a quarter, not necessarily a quarter of my life, but it's rapidly approaching a quarter of my life.
quickly.
Yep.
And I can't remember the first one we met at. It was a long time ago, but you came to my shop, did some appearances there,
Yeah, and then we started talking. Come to find out that you went to school with somebody that I work with. And that's how we connected.
That's right.
I worked at a toy store, and you knew the person I worked with.
Becky Rogers. Yeah.
Becky Rogers.
She was such a sweetheart.
Holla.
Do you still? Are you still in touch with Becky?
I can't say we fell out of touch. Really, it was just kind of like, well, yeah, we don't really talk as much as we used to.
Yeah, but just like every great once in a while.
Right.
Happy birthday kind of thing. Yeah, that's cool.
Yep, something like that.
So, what have you got going on in the comic world, Zeke? I ask, knowing.
Well, I'm continuing to do the whole, print thing.
Yeah.
And I just finished my first issue of something called Triopolis. It's a comic book series that I just started doing. It's my own creations, my own characters. And I went totally old school on the thing, which means like I penciled it with a pencil and I inked it with a brush.
Yeah.
And I colored it with stuff that makes color. Well, the thing about it is,
that makes color.
Yeah, because the thing about it is, the when you look at the book, you'll sit there and go, when I tell you what I colored it with, you're gonna go. A lot of people say, you did it with that.
Yeah.
And I did it mostly with Sharpie.
Right. Yeah.
And stuff like that. So you out of your mind, It's like,
especially in this digital age, it's not done that way.
It's like old school way is how I chose to do it because I didn't want to screw up doing it digitally.
Right.
So
yeah.
When they say when in doubt, go with what you know.
Yeah. So what was it that got you into comic books?
Well, what got me into comic books was I had a couple comic books laying around the house when I was a little boy, and what I would do is I would copy the images out of the books. I would draw one to one. I wasn't necessarily tracing it; I was copying it, which means like you have your drawing paper on your left, and you have the image on your right, and you're looking at it and drawing it and copying it. So I would start off doing that. Then I started getting an allowance, and I would just blow the whole allowance going down to Christie's. Remember Christie's?
Oh, yeah.
Go to Christie's, blow the whole, the whole allowance
on the spinner rack?
It wasn't even the spinner rack.
Oh,
it was
no?
on the magazine racks. I knew nothing about, who drew what, who the artists were. I was just like, ooh.
Batman.
Yeah. I was like, this looks good, and I just kept it. And then, it went from there, and it's just ballooned. Then I fell out of it for a while because I started, I was a wannabe jock for a little bit.
Yeah.
Played basketball and stuff like that. But comics kept calling it. The beauty about comics is it's always there.
Yeah.
It'll always be there. It was like I never left.
And it's funny, it's like if you talk to people that own comic book shops, that you have the young kids that come in and buy comics, and then about 12, 13, most of them disappear. And it's like, you'll be back. We'll see you when you're 18, 20, and it almost happens like clockwork.
Yep.
Yeah?
You want to know I'm going to tell you something about one of the funniest things I'd ever heard. I've said this to you before. One time I was in a comic book shop, and I remember I said it was poor parenting. Remember I told you that? Well, for those of you out there who are going to be listening to this, I ran into a guy at a comic book shop, and he was with his little son. He was like 5 years old or whatever. So they're looking around. So the kid grabs an issue and he says, "Dad, they made a comic book about Spider-Man." Now, I looked at this man and I had such contempt for this man. I was like, that right there is poor parenting. You're going to bring your little boy to a comic book shop and not tell him that Spider-Man was first? I don't know he was 5, but that's just poor parent. That's rule 1.
Did you know Hamlet was a book, too?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was like, that hurt my soul.
Yeah.
It hurt my soul. I'm like, I had a good laugh afterwards, though. It was funny.
So, for the young kids who are finding out that Spider-Man is a comic book and deciding that they may want to try to make a comic book, what would be your advice for them?
The best advice I could give for someone who wants to make comic books is to start.
Yeah.
Just start. If you say you want to be a comic book artist and you want to do comic books and all that stuff, and once you make that decision and you commit pencil to paper, whether it is to write it or to draw it. The second you commit pencil to paper, you're in.
Yeah.
Now, how you go from there, like with the advent of the internet, information on how to do it is a lot faster, a lot better.
Yeah.
There's a lot more outlets out there. You don't have to get hired by Marvel. You don't have to get hired by DC. They have on-demand printing now. I mean, you might have to take the long way around, but it's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's your destination that you're getting to.
And it's funny, I hear a lot of people be like, oh, I can't draw hands or I can't draw people. And it's like, yeah, but if you don't do it, you're never going to be able to.
Well, you know what? People get discouraged.
Yeah.
Because they think that, I'm just going to show up and snap at the fingers and I'm going to draw all this stuff. It's like, no. It's a process. And once they realize, some people, but you know what? That's our vetting process.
Yeah.
If you quit.
So the bit of advice that has been a recurring thing this weekend, because I'm always asking people what kind of advice you'd give, is quit. Don't do it.
Yeah,
because the thing is, like, if you're going to take someone's no to determine whether you're going to do something or not, then you're not going to do it anyways.
Yeah. Well, what it is it's like you really, truly, I don't know how many trulies I can tell you. You truly have to love this in order to do it. It has to be a passion. Because if you're looking at to get rich, those people are not a dime a dozen. They are hard to come by if you're going to get rich off of doing this.
And see, you have probably an unfair advantage, like a secret weapon. You have Alan. And she keeps you on the level.
Well, you know what? It
now
depends.
She's walking away.
When it comes to being Alan, it depends on who you ask or who keeps who on the level.
Yeah.
Because if you ask her, she says, I keep her on the level.
Yeah.
If you ask me,
Same.
Yeah. But as long as I've known you guys, you've always been supportive of Zeke. And I think that is the important thing. So.
Yeah, that
She's your biggest fan.
That I'm very thankful for because that's another thing a lot of male comic book artists need to realize is like you need to have a very understanding support system.
Yeah.
Because you're going to take your lumps.
Yep.
You're going to take a beating. Emotionally, psychologically, not literally, but emotionally.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day. Like, sometimes you're going to get a critique that's going to make you want to cry.
You will get your bum handed to you.
Yes. And sometimes you just got to suck it up and deal with that. But
you have to realize that sometimes whoever's giving you the critique, you have to consider the source.
Yeah.
Because sometimes someone's going to give you a critique to make an example of you.
Yeah.
But that's their own jerk.
But sometimes
posture.
you're going to get a rough critique that's valid, and you got to learn from that.
Well, you have to do the percentages.
Yeah.
Because if you go to 20 people,
yep.
And out of those 20 people, 18 of them tell you that your stuff is trash.
Yeah.
Guess what? You got work to do.
Yeah.
But if you go to those same 20 people and 18 of them say that your stuff is good and 2 of them say you're trash, you're on the right path.
Right.
You are. When you go to get critiqued, you are actually. It's the most exposed you'll ever be. It's like the firing squad.
Yeah.
And they're all shooting to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to try to come out of there with as many. You're gonna get wounded.
Yeah.
You got to come out there with your life. So then next time you go back, you won't get shot 20 times. You'll get shot 10 times.
Yeah.
And you go back again, but you have to be fool enough to go back again.
And that comes down to that. You have to love it. You have to be willing to go through those tough experiences. Mm-hmm. So when does the comic come out?
Well, it will be debuting with God willing. God willing, it will be debuting at Rhode Island Comic Con.
Which is in about 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, about 2-3 weeks, So you can come by, say hey, maybe buy a comic, read it. Just don't line up with your birdcage because I'll come find you.
Is there a website or Facebook page for it yet?
You can find it. If you want to buy the thing before it comes out, you can go to Indie Planet.
Yep.
And you look up Triopolis. Triopolis. Triopolis.
Okay.
Like 3 cities. And you'll look it up and you find it and you can purchase it and they will mail it to your home. So it's like the cover price plus postage.
Yes.
If you want to take that route, you can. But if you want to get it from me,
They should come down and shake your hand. And
Come get it signed and have it depleting value. No.
how much do you charge for your signature?
I don't charge anything for
Do you get that question? Every once in a while I get that question, and it blows my mind. Because my auto response is nothing. Wait, could I?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm sitting there like, I am not that vain of a human being that I figure my signature is worth, I was like, yeah, you bought it for $5, but now that I signed it, it's only worth a dime. That's why I said it's depleting value.
Well, Zeke, we got to get you on for a full episode. I'm not lying when I said there's a list that you're on.
As long as
it's a good list. It's not like a do not fly list.
Yeah, it's not like I don't want to be on the kill list.
No.
Anything like that. I think I might have got somewhere in life if I was on that list, the kill list.
The kill list?
Yeah. That means I did something with my life.
Could have been something wrong. But best of luck in Rhode Island because I won't be there.
That's a shame. We'll be missed.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be doing down seeing my son in D.C. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. You know what?
Got to do the dad thing.
Always defer to the family.
Yep. So always, man. You had a good show, and yeah.
Always a pleasure.
All right, man.
All right.
So it's Miller time now, I guess. Thanks for listening to the Inebri-art podcast. And if you get a chance, we have Jam Packed with Matt and Jeff, another podcast that we put out where they review and talk about all things horror movie related. And then starting in September, we have 2 more podcasts coming out. The Bar Talk, hosted by Carl and Jordan, and they'll be talking to bartenders and owners and restaurant staff of all kinds about the crazy things they go through. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then we also have the Old Colony Cast, another weekly podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas, events, anything going on, interesting people. So if you're a tourist or you live in the area, make sure you check that one out for all sorts of cool stuff. And thanks for listening.